this life and this game is mine. Yep, it's my time. Peep this mic dominant, intelligence is prominent. Dropping all sorts of ill gems on your conscience. Many years, I lay patient, just waiting, just building, just laying the perfect foundation for this ill structure. Now I run the court similar to the Ruckers. Got my focus back, then began to
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Staying Ready, the podcast about race and gender. I'm your host, Tracy Walker.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Dr. L. David Stewart. And views and things we're going to talk about today do not represent the people, entity, and people who are fans of either team. We're just going to hear and talk some shit about a subject that I think you all find entertaining, and believe it or not, does have some economic and EDI relations to it. So what we talking about today, boss?
So y'all, you know we normally come with all the heavy hitting topics and stuff like that. Well, it's a deep topic, but we're gonna have a little fun today. Let's go into it. So y'all watched the Super Bowl, right? I'm not talking about the Chiefs and Eagles. That was nice. You know,
a hate crime.
I'm happy the Eagles won. I didn't want the Chiefs to win. I'm sorry. You know, I'm a Lions fan by heart. So, you know, I'm already in mourning, but just didn't want them Chiefs to win. But as you see what my wonderful co-host is over here acting up and doing, we going to get into this halftime show by Kendrick Lamar, K-Dot. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, if we do the full name. Mm-hmm. Man, y'all, we just, we couldn't let that halftime show go without this podcast doing something on it, because we were going to reference it regardless. So, I mean, we're going to try to stay in order of it. If you have not watched the halftime show, please go watch it first before you come here.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I don't care.
He don't care.
I don't care.
I do. I want you to watch it. Now, I'm not asking you to watch it for all understanding of all the messaging in it, because that's what we're about to do, break down some of the messaging in it. But I want you to go and watch it first before you come. And this is also a podcast. This ain't for people. I mean, you can debate us all day, but this is really to inform people and have conversation, because some people don't listen to Kendrick Lamar. Some people are not into hip hop. Some people didn't know really what was going on and what was transpiring, and don't even know a little bit background of Kendrick. So this is what this podcast episode is, to kind of just deal with the greatness of this halftime show. I am biased because I thought it was an amazing halftime show, and to know it's on top as one of the most watched halftime shows in NFL history.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying that,
and that's where I want to start.
Go ahead.
The first thing is, as of now, it is the most watched Super Bowl show.
Wow.
133.5, passing Michael Jackson.
Wow.
Okay, now, full disclosure, I am a hip hop artist. I am a fan of Kendrick, and to some people's shock, I have
intro. Just let y'all know.
Shh. And I am actually a fan of Drake, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been familiar with Drake. I went to school in the University of Toronto. I was familiar with his music as early as 2004. Mm-hmm. He's good at what he does. Kendrick is good at what he does. So we're not going to rehash the battle, but it's relevant to this. So for context, right? And this is where the rapper in me really enjoyed this. Mm-hmm. So it starts back in 2013. Kendrick dropped a verse on his song Control, and he basically called out the entire industry. And Kendrick has since then have been affectionately known as the Baba Yaga, for those who watch John Wick, as the boogeyman. Mm-hmm. So when he dropped the Control verse, everybody and their mama wanted to respond, because Kendrick in so many words said, "I'm calling out all you niggas." Mm-hmm. And as Kendrick has also said, he's a fan of the sport. He started as a battle rapper, so on and so forth. So Kendrick and Drake had a cool moment. They have a song together called Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson, so on and so forth. And over the years, there has been rumors that they have been subliminally dissing each other. Fast forward to 2024. Future drops a song, and Kendrick, he says the verbal equivalent of 9/11 hitting the second tower. F the big three is just big me.
Boom.
And we're off.
Yep.
So, A lot of people, of course, were feeling, if you were a betting man, depending on your view of the music and what you like, Drake had won the battle between Meek Mill, back to back. And when Drake beat Meek Mill, it was a victory lap. The chill, there was no chill, right? Okay, cool. Now, the rumor, not the rumor, the prevailing thought was, and this is why I enjoyed this battle. There was a bar in there where Drake was like, nah, you got to respond this time. Okay. So now we get the first song, Euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick, like a well played artist, sets up the beginning of this. And he says in one line, don't tell no lie about me. I won't tell the truth about you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then I think the response is Taylor Swift freestyle, where Drake uses Pac and Snoop AI, which was quite a thing, to really get at Kendrick. All right. So now we move into next phase, which is Kendrick's response, and this was a masterclass on how to handle an opponent. 616 in LA. It was studied because now every time Kendrick drops, everyone is studying what is the meaning, what is the symbolism. And there's layers of symbolism of what 616 in LA meant, from Father's Day in Canada to so on and so forth. Me personally, it was my favorite song of the battle because I call that song the Assassin's Prayer. Kendrick was literally talking to God like, Lord, I don't want to do what I'm about to do, but I'm finna do it. All right, this drops on a Friday. I think before the end of the weekend, and I could be wrong, please correct me. Drake drops Family Matters.
Correct.
And to be fair, Family Matters was his best song in that battle.
It was.
He made some real heavy comments, but as the kids say, it didn't age well. One of the favorite bars, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Somebody give him a Grammy. And I'm going to get to that. Right? So this had never been done in hip hop history. And I have to bring this up as a student of hip hop. So when you go back to battles like Marley Marl, MC Shannon, KRS-One, Ice Cube and WA, Cannabis and LL, Nas and Jay, the technology did not allow you to respond at this speed.
Correct. Very correct. very much so.
I've had to explain this to people. So I said, let me give you a metaphor for what this was like. Can you imagine in 2001 if Jay dropped Ether? I mean, Jay dropped his, no, not Ether. When Jay dropped his joint dissing Nas, and Nas drops Ether 30 minutes later.
That's just ridiculous.
Like, you talk about having it in the tuck. So what happens is Drake drops Family Guy. Kendrick drops Meet the Grams within an hour. Meet the Grams is one of the darkest battle songs I've ever heard. Like, this is Silence of the Lambs. I've said Meet the Grams is the equivalent of your best friend being a psychiatrist and you fell out with him and he knows everything.
All your business.
Right? I mean, that song made me almost want to go back to therapy, and it didn't have nothing to do with it. All right, so now we get into where I'm going with this. Quote unquote, for the people who don't like Kendrick, the Drake fans, they said Kendrick doesn't have a hit. Pay no mind to Humble, which is now, because of this, 2X Diamond. That's 20X. Pay no mind to Damn. Pay no mind to Swimming Pools. Pay no mind to All Stars. All right.
Yeah.
All these other. He didn't have a hit. Okay, cool. Kendrick is a rapper, lyrical miracle. Kendrick then drops They Not Like Us. All right. And I'm giving the backstory of why we're going to get into this halftime, because you got to know all this stuff, right? He drops They Not Like Us. It united the West Coast. It had Bloods and Crips together. And then Kendrick began to really show how petty he was, because people have forgot this. Kendrick is talking in the verse about how Drake is not of the culture, he's a colonizer and all this. Kendrick drops the video for They Not Like Us on Juneteenth.
Yes, he did.
All right. And the video was just immaculate. Kendrick didn't argue. Drake was arguing, giving subliminals on the internet. Kendrick is just in the quiet. He is just over here picking them off. All right. The song takes off. It does what it does. People are like, all right, cool. Drake drops the Heart Part 6 trying to mimic Kendrick's title, where Drake says, I don't want to battle no more, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Now, fast forward, week and a half ago was the Grammys. Kendrick won uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. 5 Grammys.
3 of the top 5 awards of the night. And mind you, I have to put this part for y'all, get this. They Not Like Us was a single. He never included the album because he said he wanted to keep the authentic of the battle. And so he said he didn't want to skew the numbers of the record sales by having that. I also want to say, Like That was also nominated as well. So just to let you know, there's a couple things with it. I want to let you know there was not just They Not Like Us, but Like That was nominated twice. Mm-hmm. So he won 3 of the top 2 honors, and the other 2 honors went to Beyonce, I believe, right?
For this song. Right. Now, I will also say Drake was nominated, I think, for his battle with Meek back then, but no one had ever won for a battle. Now, why I'm bringing this up, again, as a former battle MC myself, this would be like if The Bridge Is Over was performed in this 87, 88 Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. This would be like if Ether was performed at that year's Super Bowl, or Cannabis second round knockout. Those of you all who are not battle rap fans, who are just consumers of hip hop, I get it. So the week before the Super Bowl, this man has won 5 Grammys for kicking your back end after you said, no, you got to respond. You can't get away. So now we get to the Super Bowl.
So before we go into the Super Bowl, I want to let y'all listen. He mentioned the lyric, right? This is what it says in Family Matters, right? Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. Where is your uncle at? Because I want to talk to the man of the house. That's the lyric, right?
Right.
Right. So he got the Grammys now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's a double entendre because Drake is referring to Mr. Morale.
Yes.
Where Kendrick talks about his aunt, who I think transitioned into a man. Mm-hmm. So thinking that's going to be a slight at him, which is interesting because Drake, you kind of poked at a certain community with that, trying to be smart, wasn't the best thing to do. Now, for those of us who are battle rappers or students of it, Kendrick is the person that is so petty. I think John Lennon's son said, one thing I've learned, never battle Kendrick Lamar. Because this man listens intently and he doesn't respond just to respond. He waits for the perfect time. So now, Super Bowl 59. When he started promoting for it, everybody was like, how come Lil Wayne is not performing? Lil Wayne is not a good performer no more, and I'm a fan of Lil Wayne, but no. Just because it was in your town, you're not owed it. So let me get to the pregame. Everybody's wondering what Kendrick's going to do. So they bring out Southern, couple HBCU bands. Master P comes out. No one from Cash Money. So that takes a lot of things off the table for what he could do because they did it in the pregame.
Yes.
I had access to, I knew what was coming. I just didn't say nothing. When I was told the day before that Samuel L. Jackson was going to be involved, I knew it was going to be wonderful, and they did not disappoint.
So, as we go through it, I'm gonna come back to something about Kendrick in a little minute. I want to get through a few things with this Super Bowl because this is so good. So it opens up with Samuel L. Jackson, right? A couple things with opening up with Samuel L. Jackson. One, he said, "This is your unc, Sam." Play on words. There's a couple things. He was dressed as. So many of y'all might not know what he was dressed as. Back in the day when there was a lot of American propaganda, right? About America being great and everything like that. The key point to know this before, we had the first sitting president ever to attend the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay? That's the first thing. So, going back to the propaganda, you have the propaganda. So Uncle Sam that we used to have as propaganda, he used to have this advertisement say, "I want you." And that was the advertisement you would see. Right? That was part of what Samuel L. Jackson was representing, right? Part of. There was a couple things.
And one other thing before you go further, and a lot of people forget, when you hear Uncle Sam, it's an acronym.
Yes.
Uncle Sam stands for United States of America. Uncle Sam.
Right.
So a lot of people forget that. I just wanted to interject.
Yep, you're right. And so first of all, you had him in that attire, right? Then you had his introduction of how he did it to me. And to me, it had a very much of an ode to the movie Bamboozled when he came on. So when he did this, if y'all understand the minstrel shows and all that stuff, right? It also, to me, helped to also embody one of his characters that many people hated to this day, but was very popular in Django. So opening up with that already let you know he was for it. And he was coming for it.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Like, he was coming for it. So just that opening apart let you know that this was not just about Drake. And I really want to get that part about this whole, yes, Drake got distance. Of course it was going to happen. There was something that was going to touch on him. But it was bigger than just Drake in this. Now Drake had to get his shots because, of course. But there were so many things in there. So that's the intro part. Okay. Now the reason why I'll start with the intro, then I want to let my co-host go into some other parts of this too. To let you know one thing about Kendrick, and Kendrick is a Pulitzer Prize winner. Many people may not know that. Also knowing that he's a poet above everything else. And one of his instructors said that when he had Kendrick in class, Kendrick would write poetry and he would tell Kendrick, go to the thesaurus and find other words that mean those things for his poetry. So since he was young, he has been developing a vocabulary and a wordplay that rivals anybody. So you have to understand him being as a battle rapper, having that poetic background, having that knowledge and being able to use wordplay is lethal.
And to go further, and again, there have been a lot of diatribes, so I'm not going to rehash everybody's all my verse. But one of the things that stuck out to me as he says, and I quote, "You picked the right time, but the wrong guy." That
yes,
with Kendrick, there's always at least 2 or 3 meanings to it. And a good rapper, at least class of rappers I came up in, always had multiple meanings to things. Some people say it was about Trump. Some people say it was about him. But that let me know at that moment that this isn't going to be your standard entertainment Super Bowl, right?
No.
And that Kendrick has always been an artist that push the envelope and say something, right? A lot of people were saying, oh, Kendrick didn't do his slaps. He didn't do all right. He didn't do blah, blah, blah. Well, a couple years ago, he did some of those songs when he did it with the West Coast. Didn't make no sense to do the same ones over. No, a lot of people didn't like it. But as a performer, I don't see the logic of doing certain songs over, especially the climate that we are in at this moment. And this is something that I have not heard a lot of people say. This performance could not have been done last year. This performance cannot happen next year. This was a timepiece that only could happen now with everything that happened with Drake, but also the political climate of what's going on. Okay? So as a performer myself, as an artist, you usually go in with a theme or a concept, whether you're just performing on a stage or a video, there's a theme you're going for, right? You know, last year we saw with Usher. Usher did the A-Town thing. Usher covered the culture, right? Usher covered roller skating. He covered the band culture, you know, some of the Greek culture. Kendrick was doing something similar, but from a very political standpoint. Usher's was apolitical. This was hyperpolitical. Okay, cool. So you get into the songs, right? He does Squabble Up. And if you look at the references to the PlayStation controller, which is outlined in the middle of a prison yard, that also has street lights on it, and the usage of the color red, white, and blue all the way down to his jacket. If you know, Kendrick doesn't do anything without intention. So I was just sitting back watching, like, we're going somewhere. And as a fan of it, let it happen. You know, so he goes through Squabble Up, goes through all that, and he gets into his hardcore songs, first third of the set. Mind you, this man's got 13, 14 minutes to make a hell of a political point in front of 100 and some million people. So he does his hard songs, goes into Squabble Up, does all that, yada, yada, yada. Sam basically comes out and goes, oh, going too hard, you know. Oh, and Sam's quote, oh, the cultural cheat code, deduct one life. I've heard some very interesting analyses on that very interesting. But then he moves into the softer set with SZA. Can't say SZA is not a great act, and I'm gonna give it to my co-host.
We got to stop there because there's a couple pieces in there.
Yeah,
there's a couple pieces. One, when he started the show, it start here. Many people miss that.
Mm-hmm.
They get the last part of it, but they don't get to start here, right? The PlayStation analogy and all that was going on right there is a game piece, and this is a game, right? That's part of one thing probably put in the game. But one of the things that got me that he did when he was doing the first part with the flag, there's a couple things. One, the colors he used, right? The type of flag he did. He did not show the United States flag currently as it is. He showed it back in the times of more of right after slavery, right before.
Right, give around Reconstruction.
Reconstruction, right, yes. Then also a couple things he did with it. He showed them how we have to, well, he did the whole thing of the people coming around him with the flag, coming into him more, which means we need to come together because he was in the middle, divided. America's divided, showing that there's a divide in America. That's why he was in the middle. Okay? I just want to bring those couple points out because sometimes we miss that he was showing just not just the flag and, oh, I'm American.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing my co-host said that it was so true. He couldn't play songs like All Right because it ain't all right.
Right.
We ain't good. We ain't sweet. It ain't nice right now. And he wanted to make sure that he was making a statement. I know for sure that it's not cool. You looking for a jigaboo set. This ain't a jigaboo set. This is a set to really make you think about where we're at a political statement. And anytime you have a platform where you have the ear of those that are in leadership, you need to take advantage of it. And he showed that example of, I'm not going to do a jump around dance kind of performance for you. I'm going to either make you angry or prick your ear to understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So just to let you know the starting of it and all that stuff like that.
So it gets better, right? Then he goes into SZA's performance, all of the stars, her songs, and it softens the setup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a master class in performing of knowing your audience, while also knowing intent. As an MC myself, whenever I perform, for instance, I have something in my band notes that's called keeping one in the tuck. Meaning, you got to know your crowd or your surprises. So, for instance, if you expect to go to a set and you perform and it's like, okay, it's a hardcore hip hop venue, you're expecting guys and head nod songs, but it turns out to be 40% women. Mm-hmm. Well, you got to know who's in the crowd. You know, you can't lyrical miracle them to death, even if you're cute. You got to give them something to work. So Kendrick then softens the music and lets SZA take center stage in Red. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So it was a softer set. It was more sensual, but it was respectful. Again, keeping in mind that the politicos were trying to protest before the performance, the Super Bowl performance, which I found very interesting, saying they didn't want to be lascivious, this, that, and the third. It's the Super Bowl. The last time we had anything lascivious was unfortunately when Janet had the wardrobe malfunction. We've not had anything close to that in over 20 years. But I found that interesting. SZA set goes into what it is, all the stars, and it's nice. And there's still a lot of movement going on, and I'm paying attention to all the things. And then it happens. Samuel L. Jackson's like, yeah, that's what we want. We want more of. And now Kendrick, in his dark sense of humor, is teasing you about the Drake thing.
But the thing before that, even they said there's a sign that says up in the crowd says "warning, wrong way," and Sam is warning him, like he says, "You're going. It's too
ghetto,
too ghetto, all this." And then he does go to the smoothness with SZA and all that. I mean, there's subliminal stuff in there too.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes into that, and then, like you said, Samuel Jackson says, "That's right. That's where you're going." Mm-hmm. And then you hear the allude to, and then it just goes full on from there.
Yeah, and the wrong way a lot of people didn't catch, because everybody assumed that the entire performance was going to be a 13-minute Drake punching bag, and it was not. Now, this is the part the rapper in me really loved. So, for those who are not aware, Drake has tried everything as an injunction to prevent that song from being played because he was labeled as a pedophile. Now, if you are a fan of battle rap, usually when you have battle rap, it is not nice things said as someone who has said some very not nice things about people I've battled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this goes back to Drake not being of the culture, right? Like, one of my harshest battle songs I've loved is DJ Quick versus MC8. Uh, Don't Make Dollars. Like, things DJ Quick said to MC8, they're cool now, but when we battle, war is war, right? And again, all this didn't have to happen. Drake, if you leave this man alone,
Mm-hmm.
and don't go this far, because Kendrick said if you go there, I'm gonna go there too.
Mm-hmm.
If Drake leaves this man alone, there's no Super Bowl performance, there's no 5 Grammys, there's no none of this. Now I'm going to add another element to this that's going to make this real spicy. One of the reasons that Drake is mad because he feels UMG, who I think both of them were keyword were
Mm-hmm.
on same distribution, feels that UMG basically invested in Drake's demise.
Mm-hmm.
It was all fun and games when you was kicking Meek Mills back in, right? But now you're losing. Now the rules need to change. A lot of people also don't know Kendrick Lamar is no longer on TDE. He is not on Top Dog.
No.
PG Lang is his own imprint.
Correct.
That is very, very key to know. Now, one of the things that Drake does not want to admit is it's not so much that some people really like Kendrick. It's because Drake has done a lot of dirty things that is open knowledge. Drake has been sexually involved with Lil Wayne's girl while he was locked up. Drake, the whole Playboy lover boy thing. You didn't mess with a lot of man's old ladies, wives, and all that. And the thing is, we get the Playboy thing, but you can't keep doing this with no repercussion, bruh. So Drake has developed the villain persona on his own. And he thought little Kenny, yada, yada, yada. Oh, but they call him Kung Fu Kenny for a reason, right? So you tried to stop the song, and then out of almost just pure spite, he teases the song with these four women. Found that very interesting. He teased the song about him messing with young women, with 4 younger looking women. And it was at that point I knew his petty was coming. So it's a little banter. Then he goes into the song. Everybody knows it. Mustard on the beat. One of the more amazing things about Kendrick as a performer, Kendrick removed a lot of words out of each song.
Yes.
And still kept timing and doing this while moving. I will tell you this, as a performer with a band, that is not difficult. That is not easy to do, right? It's not like he just took out a one word, which he did remove, but how he articulated it was so great. So he gets to it, certified, screams, ah! Because everybody in the world was leaning like, is he going to say it?
Right.
So this is where Kendrick the Boogeyman appears. And you all have seen the meme. Everyone said, well, Kendrick had bell bottoms and yada, yada, yada. Kenny looks at the camera with a devilish smile and says, hey, Drake. This is when the political guy turned off and the battle rapper came back. And he goes into the, hey, Drake, I heard you like him young. And he's walking in a circle. For me as a new boxer, it's like you're circling the kill at this point. So now he's going to it. The whole world is looking like, oh my God, he mentioned him by name. And ladies and gentlemen, I, Dr. Stewart, wish there was a camera on Drake when they said A minor. I have a friend who lives in New Orleans who says she lives a mile away from the Superdome. And you heard A minor from a mile away. This man had the entire Super Bowl and the world, wherever they watch it, going A minor. Now, why is that important? People say Kenny didn't have a hit. People know this battle all over the world, if nothing for A minor. which the bar itself was a flip.
Mm-hmm.
It was a double entendre. Some people say the chain, small letter A minor, minor A. Everything he does is it this? Is it that? So the performance at this point is, okay, now he's talking about Drake. And he goes through it, and then he jumps to the end of the verse. Are you my friend? And then for the killer, he goes to TV Off, which is sampled from the same song as They Not Like Us, and brings Mustard out. Right? At this point, the venue is losing its stuff.
I want to talk about this venue. There's a couple things with this. One, Super Bowl tickets ain't cheap
at all.
At all. So you have to be in a place where you have disposable income, right? Mm-hmm. So this is not teeny boppers. This is not, not just saying that because of Drake. But anyway, but this is not just young people, just people with, regular deglers. This is people that got some money. So you have A-list celebrities, you have political figures, you have movers and shakers, all in an arena saying A minor, right? This tells you how this song, beyond being a Drake diss, right? There's a couple things that happened. So you know that when Kendrick had first released this, he also did a pop-up concert in LA. And the pop-up concert in LA, one, he had to stop it where people from all over were trying to fly in for this concert, right? He stopped it where he just had it for people locally in LA. He bridged LA, right? He bridged the gangs on the stage. He did They Not Like Us, like, was it 5 times?
6, 7 times.
6, 7
times.
Some disrespect. It was some, he just kept starting over and doing it again. Okay, right. But he bridged, right? He did his video. His video bridged LA and brought the community. One thing about it is They Not Like Us was popular. Yeah, it was a diss, right? But it also brought a community together where people had pride from LA, right? So as he talks about, he brought Mustard out and he had TV Off, all that stuff going on. You have to understand how pivotal that song to be played at the time it was played, correct, when it was played, and the people in the room, beyond the sitting president being there, but just all the people in the room.
And then also to have Serena Williams out there crip walking. And a lot of people took the low-hanging fruit
of course.
She used to deal with Drake, right? Mm-hmm. But people also forget Drake said a lot of shady things about her, including about her husband. Now, people say, well, how she gonna crip walk? Her sister was killed by Crips, and she's married to a white man. Semi-valid points. However, people forget one little thing, that she's actually from Compton. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a Compton. That's the homie. Mm-hmm. And Kendrick was like, yeah, she the homie. And again, it means multiple things to see her crip walking out there, right? Crip walking, for those who don't understand, crip walking out there is like footwork to us in Chicago, mm-hmm, right? So you may have folks that might be well kept and all that, but they gonna hear juke that, right? And you gonna see a side of them that you didn't know exist, right? So that's how I look at crip walking. Right? Now juke, now root, right? You gonna see professionals just get into it, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. One of the things that even Kendrick just quietly does with that action is just like support black women. And then people forgot SZA, who was Drake's ex, right? So it's like Kenny at this point said, I didn't gave you all the revolution and all that. Now I'm going to end it being petty.
But he still gave a revolution in that, because one thing about it, in 2012, when Serena won the U.S. Open, I think it was a U.S. Open or Wimbledon? Mm-hmm. Wimbledon. She won that, and she crip walked. She got so much heat for it. They said she's ghetto. Playing on what Sam said. She just this. How could she be this? And thinking about where she's at, right? Mm-hmm. She is a legend. They came out as poor little girls in Compton to be international tennis superstars. There has not been women to their caliber known and identified with tennis like them.
To this day.
And these are girls from Compton. And she crip walked at the Super Bowl on a large platform. You got mad when I did at Wimbledon. I'm gonna do it here.
But here's a point that ain't nobody said, and this is where I like to be not controversial. I just like to point out something. Serena Williams crip walked at the Super Bowl. People were like, "Oh my God!" No one said nothing as much when Snoop did it. Kendrick was there too. Again, pay attention to that. So wrapping this up. Mm-hmm. All right, he ends it, and then the last act, Kendrick smiles after TV off, and the stand say game over, and here we are now. So Kendrick, people were saying that, just people are talking about y'all didn't get the message. And you know what? Two things can be right. Some people could have gotten into it, understood every message, but thought it was boring. And that's okay.
That's fine.
There's some Drake fans that are just not going to like it. There's some Kendrick fans that are going to overdo it. But here's the point that I want to cover. Kendrick knew all this was going to happen. People were saying, well, it was a bad performance. Okay, that's your opinion. But last year you had marching bands, roller skaters, and everything, and you didn't like it. Kendrick chose to make his platform a message. People were saying, well, that's not the place to do that. If not there, when? That's also not talking about the gentleman who was tackled for having the support Gaza and Sudan thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about during the performance. Right? So sometimes I think that people struggle with this. We're living in such critical and crucial times, if I may quote the late, great James Brown, that some people just wanted the escape. Some people just wanted the Super Bowl to be fun. I don't want to deal with this. But as an artist, as a creative, sometimes you have to take those moments to make a stand, right? And it's going to be uncomfortable. As I said on my personal Facebook post, it's okay if you didn't like it. I don't need to insult you to say you didn't get it. I think some people just didn't want to get it, or because he being Kendrick, has beat up on Drake. And people are like, it's not the right place. It's not the right time. But you know what? When someone slaps you and does the things that Drake, not literally, but tries to come for you, because never forget, you talk about defamation. Drake tried to say K-Dot was a wife beater. Mm-hmm. So, Drake wasn't innocent in this at all. Not at all. Right? But for all the antics and all that, in battle rap, you got to know when you lost, right? And sometimes everybody understands this analogy. When you arguing, especially with a parent, and you walk off and be like, and tell me what you say? That's Drake. Shut up. Like, you keep trying to make subliminals, and this man has threw nothing but dynamite at you. And he's gotten paid well, and he's destroyed your brand. And I will say this, if Drake or anybody of his friends listen to him, Drake, I hope you got better friends, bro. Because you're in Australia, you try to do your little tour thing, cool. Drake is going to be up, right? Because this is the part that a lot of people culturally don't get. Drake is up financially. You're right. At the end of the day, Drake is still doing well financially. But what people don't understand is Drake is of the culture. Drake cares because he wants to be of the culture. This is why it hurts. Because at the end of the day, Drake started off as a hip hop artist and as a rapper. And this is me as a manager speaking, as a rapper and a fan of the culture. But there's one more thing that Drake has not done. And this is going to be interesting to some people. Drake, when you in a jam, you need to take a cue from R. Kelly. I'm going to say that again. People are like, where the fuck are you going with this one? Here's what I mean, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all who weren't around, the first time R. Kelly got in trouble, Jim DeRogatis, this is the early 2000s. He was jammed up. R. Kelly dropped Step in the Name of Love.
Two-sided album. Mm-hmm.
That really blew up the steppers culture to what you know it as now, unless you were in Chicago. That song was so good, people forgot he was peeing on people. That's what Drake, because the thing about contemporary culture, whether you agree or not, Drake, you need a hit. Bro, if you want people to stop talking about they not like us, you got to drop a slap. You got to drop something, because as I said earlier, people do want to escape.
Mm-hmm.
But since the battle, y'all, and if I'm wrong, he's done cameos that ain't hit. He didn't dropped a little joint here and there. He dropped 100 gig where he was trying to do these videos. Bruh, you have not dropped a hit since the battle. You haven't made a hit really before the battle, in my opinion, but you ain't dropped one of them joints that made people go, you know what? Because here's the truth of the matter, and this is to my fans of hip hop and all that, like hardcore fans. Us hardcore fans of hip hop, we look at it differently. But as a manager of a well-known artist, I understand how consumers look at it, right? Most consumers don't care about the breakdown we just made. They like, it's the Super Bowl. Do that somewhere else. Right. And I understand that 300%. But Drake cares. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't keep making the subliminals. Like coming out on stage after the Grammys with the holes in your shirt with smoke coming out like you still alive. Bro, right now, you are limping. Now, Drake signed a $400 million deal a few years back. There's a whole different discussion. I don't know that man's deeper contract issues. But the fact of the matter is, you became a joke, my guy. You know, in battle rap, it's like once they got the line that they can keep repeating on you, they got you, bruh.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? When you look at KRS with The Bridge Is Over, and I'm a huge fan of MC Shan, MC Shan was never the same. No. Okay? When Ice Cube bucked with no Vaseline, it destroyed the rest of NWA.
It did.
The only reason LL had a career after second round knockout is because he and Wyclef were in league. But even then, he went more into acting. Okay? Same thing. Jay evolved, I'll say. His music went a different direction because Ether showed, in the words of Batman, I can make you bleed. Right? This is battle rap culture concurrent with music culture. Right? Drake, after all this, started this. And the arrogance, they say in the Bible, and yes, I didn't brought the Bible into this. They say pride cometh before the fall. And Drake, after doing what he did to Meek Mill and everyone, let's not forget, Joe Budden opened up the door for kicking Drake's back in. And I know y'all like, what do you mean? Go back and look up a song called What Am I Afraid Of? When Joe Budden rapped over one of Drake's songs. And to me, it is the top 3 battle songs ever. And he predicts what ends up happening 2-3 years later with Pusha T. Pusha T then comes when Drake goes and Pusha T outed this man's son.
Yeah, that's the part that gets me. Like, how you gonna do this, Drake, when it happened to you? How you should leave family alone, because family should be off limits. And when you open that door, you know how it was for you. Even if I'm not saying anything is truthful or anything about the claims, but you should have just left that alone.
And then, but in both cases of Joe Budden and Pusha T, the fandom was like, well, they not as successful. It don't matter. Right. They just, Joe Budden's washed up. No one listens to Pusha T. Now you bet up someone who is on your economic and status level. And Kendrick is a student of the game. Kendrick listened to all those songs that I am mentioning. Joe Budden's battle songs was fierce, was just disrespectful. Pusha T was just in his sound, right? And now you got to this. So I got to say this, and I got to wrap up. The battle that y'all saw, Kendrick Lamar took battle culture to a place it had never been in a public forum. This is why hip hop heads are like, oh my God, this is like Smack DVD at the Super Bowl, right? And Drake, until he puts out, because he's got a project coming out on Valentine's Day, I'm like, bro, you need to make a women's slap. You need to make something. You need to make your version of Step in the Name of Love to make people forget this ass whooping you took. Because right now, everywhere you go, bro, I know somebody's got to be doing A minor in multiple languages, dog. And on that note, I got to go be a businessman, and I'm.
Well, I'm going to conclude this. My partner does have to run. But I want to say that there was so much that occurred with the Super Bowl. And I think it was such a privilege to watch and see Kendrick's artistry. My co-host talked about a lot of things from rap perspective, but I just want to talk about more from a history perspective. Seeing Samuel L. Jackson at the opening, knowing Samuel L. Jackson's history, even with the Civil Rights Movement and other things, being one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s pallbearers. He's from Morehouse. And just how he just stands for, I'm going to stand for what I stand for. It was just great. So we did this breakdown of the performance because it was just necessary, man. It was just so many good things about it. And Kendrick, man, like, he gave me everything I needed. I didn't want to be danced. I didn't want to have jump and shout. And a lot of time, jumping around on the shout and everything, like a lot of people want to do. I really love thought-provoking pieces. So, like my coach said, I'm not trying to come for anybody that did not like it, wanted more entertainment. But for those that understood, really got it, and really appreciated, man, hats off to Kendrick. I'm excited about even more things to happen. And, Drake, I ain't got no issue with Drake, but I'm all about what's going to lift our people. In this time and day, everything ain't all right. And so having someone talk about pieces like that is great. So I hope you enjoyed our little synopsis of the Super Bowl halftime show with Kendrick Lamar Duckworth. Get the whole name. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, as well as YouTube. And we will see you on the next episode. Take care, y'all. Peace. Remember, they not like us.
This life in this game is mine. Yep, it's my time. Peep this mic dominant, intelligence is prominent. Dropping all sorts of ill gems on your conscience. Many years, I lay patient, just waiting, just building, just laying the perfect foundation for this ill structure. Now I run the court similar to the Ruckers. Got my focus back, then began to practice. It was sharper than